Today I want to show you a project that I was thinking about for a long time. Finally, it was Saturday. My husband and I were alone at home. We were thinking about what we could do, and what came to our mind? Renovating our hallway. That's what we're going to do today. We are in Germany, so our walls are solid stone, different kinds of stone. It's really hard to put a drill in the stone, so we will have some problems with this for sure. Also, you cannot just staple or nail something to the walls because, like I said, they're stone and not wood. I bought this house more than 10 years ago. The walls were white or light cream. So since we have kids, the white of those walls has kind of faded, I want to say. We want to give it a new look. The lower half of the wall we want to make a little bit more stain resistant. So if little hands with some grease or watercolor on it touch them, that the wallpaper is not immediately destroyed. There is no such thing like beadboard in Germany. So when you go to a home improvement store, you find all sorts of very high specialized stuff, but you will not find a piece of beadboard that like you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's and then just put it on the wall and be done. We have to think about how to do it by ourselves. First thing I want to do is I want to remove this little section here where my kids are hanging their clothes and their backpacks. My plan in this case is really just take this out and put it over here. We can clear the whole wall out because this whole wall here, this section here where you see some pictures, this section here, and also this section here behind this magical door. Let me go a little further back. So also this section we will have to paint and beadboard. It's hard to see. I'll put some B-roll on it so you can see it.
One of the side effects having this hanger right between the kitchen and the living room was that I got some kind of mudroom feeling in the middle of the house. So the other advantage of removing this or moving it to a different place is that we kind of clear our space, we organize our space. You come into the house and then you drop all your stuff, you hang your clothes, you put down your shoes, and then you move on into the actual part of the living space. I want to be honest, clearing the room and preparing everything for painting is not my favorite. It's not a very exciting task, but it makes your work so much easier. You will be extremely fast once you take care about all the little pieces that shouldn't get paint on when you prepare everything, so you can just work through it a lot faster later. What you see here is a product that I use very often when I'm renovating. It's called Easy Cover by Tesa, but there might be similar products wherever you are. And it's basically a strip with some plastic cover on it. I did not even unroll it, so I kept it just like it was. That was enough for me. But you can pull the plastic out and then you can basically cover the whole door. It's really, really convenient. Here's my little trick, how to get the painter's tape really, really straight. So I always pull the roll and use the roll as a steering, and then I just push the tape down. And I always go back, if something's wrong, I go back and correct it, and holding the roll really tight helps you to get it really, really straight. And then you just press it down. For the wall that I'm going to paint, I outlined everything, every door, every side wall, and even the ceiling, everything. There is no spot that does not have painter's tape on it. The floor I also covered with plastic foil, and my tip here is always get one size bigger than you think you need. Bigger, in this case, really bigger is better. Welcome to the hardware store, or the home improvement store, the place to be on Saturdays. When we were at home, we were talking about what we wanted to look like. We knew it should be a darker color, something we haven't done before, and we decided that everybody, my husband and I, that everybody picks the favorite colors, and then we compare and see if we have a match or if we have an overlap. This would obviously be the perfect color for us. Right from the start, I was pulled towards those greener tones, green or olive colored. The brown I just had like for reference, but it was, I don't know, I was right from the start, I really liked the green, or the idea of having a green hallway. We also checked if the color that we picked matches with the white that we want on the wainscoting, and I think it looks really good. So we went ahead, we got our color mixed, which was a really quick process. So they did it right there, right in the store, no waiting time or anything. And then we had to move on to getting the boards we need. Our construction contains of 3 layers of 3 different types of boards, and we had them cut right there in the store, at least the best we could. So here you see my little drawing and how we planned it all out. Making a good plan up front and deciding and calculating what you exactly need, how long your board should be, what kind of materials you need. That was extremely helpful, and I always hope you take your time, make the list and write it down, take your notes to the store. I'm using a level to hold the hanger really straight on my wall, and then I go ahead and use a screw to put it through the hole that the hanger already had and like move it around a little bit so I get a mark on the wall, and this is where I have to drill my hole. To be honest, drilling holes in this wall is really annoying. I'm always like hesitating, procrastinating on things like this because it's just so much work. It's a lot of dirt that's coming out of the walls. You always have to clean up. It's really messy. So I'm not a big fan of it, but that's the only way how to hang something in this house. But also what I can tell you is once you have the right tools, the tasks are a lot easier and not so annoying anymore. Like when I got this drill machine, it has this holder where you have your second hand on it and it gives you such good control. Since I have that, house projects are a lot easier and nicer. For these walls I have to use these wall plugs. They're plastic ones and they expand once you put a screw in it. They're really tight. I know they don't look like it, but they really hold a lot of weight. But you have to match up the hole that you're drilling with the right kind of plug, with the right kind of screw. Only then it really holds tight. When I try to match these things up, I always start with the wall plug. So I would go to the store, buy the wall plug with the right depth and size that I want, Then I make sure I have the right drill bit for it, and then I would also buy the matching screws. This is a whole set of these plugs that I bought, and they have a couple of different sizes, and it tells you on the package what kind of drill bit you need. So you can see this one has 3 different sizes, and it gives you a lot of information on the plug itself, so you know what drill bit to use. It says it right there, and you know what kind of screw to use. What I always do is I'm using 2 drill bits, a smaller one for the first hole and then a bigger one later. In this case, I used the 6mm drill bit first, and then I changed it to the 8 for a second round of holes. Reason is simply you can correct a little bit if you first make a smaller hole. This is the machine I bought. It's a Bosch product. I bought it, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, 7, maybe even 8. I don't know if they still have it, but I'm sure there's a follow-up product if they don't have this specific one. It's a really great one. I like it. Here's a quick review of my handheld vacuum that I bought. You can find every information about it in my Amazon haul I made, like I think 2 months ago. Kids love it. It's so easy to clean. I really like it. It was a very good purchase. Look at that color. I love it. It looks great in the pot. I hope it looks as great on the wall, but I have to tell you, I'm really nervous. I have never painted such a dark color. I'm excited for it, but I'm also nervous it doesn't look good. Contando uma história que a chuva levou todo equipamento. I have to paint around 12 square meters. It's not that much, but it is so many corners and behind doors and whatever, so it's not an easy space to paint. So, and after all this preparation, I did the first piece. You can see I put up extra lamps. It's super dark in this hallway, so I could see the paint, the color, right when I put it on. And when I started, I fell in love with it right away. I think it is the right choice for us. It was a great pick, and I already love how it looks. Here you can already see how valuable it is to use all that painter's tape, because you would never get such a clean corner like I will have once I take this painter's tape off. Oh yeah, and I had a little helper. I did not all the work by myself. I had big help with this project. Sentou-se na mesa, olhou para mim com a cara surpresa. E o café tá saindo, madame. My helper resigned after a few minutes and left me with the rest of the space. I went ahead and used a brush for the corners, like making the outline of it, and then I used this little roller to get a little bit quicker over the big surfaces. I could have used a much bigger roller than this. I would have been a lot faster. I didn't have one, and I didn't buy a bigger one because it's just too many corners and stuff. It was fine, but I could have been faster with a bigger roller, I'm sure. It was quite some effort to move the ladder all the time to get up there on this higher space, but I also figured out painting a wall is a little bit like meditation. It has something relaxing. Seeing a space filled with new paint and new color, I don't know, it was a very nice thing. I did this for couple of hours, I think. It was, or maybe 1 hour, I don't remember exactly. But I really liked it. I did it in one run. I had to remember to drink in between because it was just so satisfying. Let's talk a little bit about paint. So there are different categories of quality of paint, and there's also different colors, right? So it depends on these factors and also what you are painting. Is it a wall? Is it wood? Whatever it is. And that might decide the number of coats you have to do. In my case, I had to do 2 coats to make it really look nice. So I painted it once, I waited a little bit, and then I painted it again to get a really nice finish. And of course my nails were a mess and my hands were absolutely sprinkled after this task. This is the absolute most gratifying part of the whole task, and what I did in this case, I layered the painter's tape. Every time I had to make a cut, I layered it in this direction so I can stand on the floor and not on the ladder and just pull up the whole thing. So the whole wall I could pull off in one take, let's say, and also I pull it off before it's 100% dry, so you can see the paint is still like glittering. It's not 100% dry, but that's just the moment to take it off so you don't rip anything. When it's completely dry, it's a lot harder to remove the tape. And then I'm already done, and I roll everything in one big ball, and yeah, that's it. That's it for painting. This is the first layer of boards that I talked about. Remember, we have 3 layers. So reason for this is that we have like this foot rail of tile and we need to get beyond that. So that's why we need this first layer to get some more space on the wall. And what we did, we just bought some very simple board, cut it in 4 strips to get like a base construction. Here I use a wood drill. That's maybe one thing I should mention. This is a different kind of drill than I used for the walls. You can see that little pin, it holds on to the wood, and that is what makes it a wood drill. And then I basically did the exact same thing like with the hanger. I pre-drilled the holes in my board, and it doesn't really matter where they are. I mean, they shouldn't be where this hole in the wall is. This layer will be completely invisible later, so it doesn't really matter if the holes are aligned. And here's the same process. I pre-drill with a 6mm drill bit, and I clean the holes, and then I drilled another time with an 8mm drill bit. And yeah, that's how I prepare for the plugs. Make sure the plugs completely disappear. Like, they have a rim. This rim obviously sits on top of the wall, but when you go over it with your hand, you should not feel anything. You saw me pre-drilling the board. Obviously that makes a lot of sense. If you don't do that and you force a screw in, your board could split. So always pre-drill your boards if you try to attach them like this to a wall. And here I need to figure out where to drill the holes in the wall on the other side of the board. So I did the same thing. I went and used the screw, put it in the holes, and then I just used a pencil to mark again where those holes are, just so that I don't lose them later. I take off the board, drill the second pair of holes, If you do it like this, your success rate will be a lot higher. It happened to me so many times that I had something with pre-drilled holes on it, like the hanger, for example. I drilled the holes in the wall, I put the plugs in, and then the screw wouldn't fit because the holes were a little bit too far apart from each other or a little bit too close, and that is really annoying if that happens. So check more than once, double check, and yeah, because it's really super annoying if it doesn't fit. In this case, the wall here is a little bit more difficult. I had to use a hammer to get the plugs in. This is a wonderful tool to sink down your holes in the board. I haven't shown this before, but it's very, very helpful. You just use it to go down a little bit. You can see your hole is now a little bit open, and the head of the screw completely disappears in the hole and gives you a better surface.
So, well, this is the state that we're in right now. I'm pretty proud. We have 4 boards on it. We have our little time capsule in it. So I just wrote on the wall that we closed this hole in 2023 and our names and stuff like that. I really like the idea that if someday someone opens this hole back up again, he can see our names. So I don't know, that's a cool side note here. So now I think we have the base to build on it, and this hole will disappear. It was here I stared at it for 12 years now. I have no idea what it is for. One guy told me it has something to do with the heating system or so. I don't really know, but it's gone now. We used it a long time for kids' shoes, but now it's gone.
You guys, I'm so excited for this mirror. I don't know how long I stared at it online. I love it. It is like an old gold, antique gold kind of mirror. It's just half size, so it has to hang like chest high so you can see your face. It's not the one that you put on the floor like I have here. I am so excited to hang it. The first thing I usually do is I hold it up and see how I want it to look, and then I take measurements and make some calculations. Now I don't have the chance to just put a screw through a hole because the hangers are on the back of the mirror. So I have to measure my space. I have to figure out how wide is the wall, how wide is not the mirror, but how wide is the hangers on the back side of the mirror. For the wall, I'm using the same system with the plugs. And one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, once you're working with drills, put your hair up. The only difference that we have here is that we are using a vacuum to catch all the dust that falls out, because now we're having a dark wall. It's clean, it's a fresh painted wall, so I don't want the dust that falls out of the hole going on that wall. In this case, I also pre-drill with a 6mm drill bit, and then I switch to an 8mm drill bit to make sure the holes are perfectly aligned. Most drill machines work like mine. They have these 3 little claws, and you just turn the front of the machine and then they open and close, and this is how they hold on to the drill bit. Here you can see me almost falling into the wall right here, because this is another thing that German walls just do. They just have a hole inside. You don't know what it is. It was not electricity or any other kind of pipe. Very likely it was just an empty space, depending on what kind of stones they used. I had only one type of screw that was long enough to hold such a big item like the mirror, and it had a very weird screw head. Luckily, I had the right bit, and I have this little handheld screwdriver where you can change the tips. So this is a really, really helpful set that saved me many times. and then it's time to hang the mirror finally. This is the nicest moment when your walls are painted, everything looks good. I mean, look at that happy face. Here's our plan for the second layer of boards. We bought some express wood glue. That is the bottle you see me applying on the top with the red lid. And it's supposed to be dry in 4 minutes. So we just thought, okay, we put on the wood glue and then we press the board for 4 minutes. But man, 4 minutes can be so long. It's incredible. So we actually decided to use some nails. And after this experience, I think you have to use nails or clamps or anything like this. You cannot hold a board still for 4 minutes, and you don't want to. This was layer number 2, and it will shine through the wainscot. What I need to do for the top layer is to cut some of the boards that we had. They were pre-cut from the store, so they cut them in strips, but now I have to shorten the strips to the size that I need. So this is some heavy machinery, I get that. I always use just my little saw, my handheld saw, and this one is something we got pretty new, and honestly it changed my life. Betty was helping me with the cutting, and you cannot even imagine her fur once I was done with all the sawdust in it. It was crazy, but I like to have company, so she was very sweet. Yeah, what you see me doing here is to smoothen up the edges, because it's like, this is the design layer. It should look nice, and obviously if you walk past, you should not rip your shirt or something. So I'm smoothing this out. From here, it's the exact same technique. We put the wood glue on the strips and then I nail them in to get some pressure on it. The only thing I had to make sure here is that I do not hit the hole that was in the middle. Remember, there was this cut out in the wall. Obviously, this would just go into nothing, and then maybe my board would even break. For the top and the bottom rail, the boards that we have are not long enough, so I need to connect them, and therefore I make a 45-degree angle cut in those boards to kind of layer them on top of each other. And this saw is extremely helpful. Look what a nice cut. The tool is really great. It's so helpful. To elevate my construction a little more, I bought these wood pieces. They have a very interesting profile, and I got them from this wood piece section. They had lots of different kinds. They're pretty long. They're like 2.5 meters, and I bought 3 of them. This is the profile they had. Unfortunately, I lost all the footage how I cut them, but I cut them at a 45-degree angle and then put them together like a picture frame, and put them in the center of those squares that I made with the other boards. You can imagine that not everything perfectly aligns. I wish it would, but it never does. So my first attempt to smoothen it out was to do it by hand. There are like these small edges and corners where just 1 millimeter gets so visible and so obvious. I figured out that doing it by hand is not the right thing, so I got my machine out and did it with a machine. There's different kinds of sanding paper, and it always will tell you on the back what the roughness is or how smooth your surface will be at the end. So, but you can feel it too. Like if you just touch it, you can feel if it's a rough one or a smooth one. After smoothing everything, I had to fill a couple of those gaps. When I paint, maybe not all of these gaps will be filled, although I will use a satin latex paint. I always recommend to do the step in between just to close all the gaps you have to get a better finish eventually. This is some stuff that you can also smoothen out later, like if it dries and it's too much on it, you can use the sander again and just go over it to get an even better surface. Well, obviously this is not a professional tool. This is just a one-time use a knife, but it had the right shape and it didn't have anything professional at home. It worked out great. So if you use the back side, I think you can use a spoon too, but this knife had this very straight back knife and therefore it worked really nicely. And then it's finally time to paint. This is all my equipment that I have, just a little trash bag that I use for coverage. We have this small pot of paint. This is actually a very robust paint. Remember in the beginning when I said I don't want to have those grease fingers on the walls anymore? This should be completely washable, super sturdy and everything. So let's see who wins, kids or this paint. When I did the first coat, I wasn't sure if it will look nice, but after I applied the second coat and also the third coat, it got better and better. It looked so good, and now you really don't see any of the wood shining through. The latex in this paint smoothed out the surface again, so this was really something I recommend if you have to paint wood.